Namaste. Welcome to Nuclear Medicine Solutions. In academic section of Nuclear Medicine Professionals, we discuss about solutions of problems which we as nuclear medicine professionals face in our day-to-day life, but they are not taught anywhere or were difficult to understand. So we try to find the solutions, discuss it here so that everyone from the fraternity can be benefited. In the last video, we started to discuss about nuclear medicine dosimetry, where we discussed how it can be so important to learn, and we also found out it can be an essential requirement in the future. As promised, we are starting the first video of the series, and we are going to discuss about nuclear medicine dosimetry, the stakeholders, where we will discuss about all the components which we as nuclear medicine professionals need to learn before doing dosimetry. So let's start and learn together. There will be 6 sections in this presentation where we will be discussing about the relevance of dosimetry, what is dose, the factors of dose assessments like nuclear and radiation data, anatomical and physiological data, and finally the reference. So let's start and try to learn what is the relevance of dosimetry in nuclear medicine. Radiation has number of benefits in medicine, but it is always associated with some risk too. Being a double-edged sword, the assessment of benefits versus risk becomes an important aspect. When we talk about the nuclear medicine, we use unsealed sources which may be inside the body or maybe outside the body in a day-to-day routine. So when the source is within the body, it is called internal dosimetry, and when it is outside the body, it is called external dosimetry. Let's see a graphical representation of this. This is external dosimetry when the source is outside the body. When source is inside the body, in diagnostic and therapeutic nuclear medicine purposes, then the assessment of this becomes internal dosimetry or internal dose assessment. In case of CT dose assessment, the source is outside and the radiation dose is measured for internal organs. So it's a different dosimetry altogether. So that we'll discuss in a separate presentation. The examples of external dosimeters are TLDs, pocket dosimeters, electronic pocket dosimeters, film badges, and OSL dosimeters. OSL dosimeters are optically stimulated luminescence dosimeters. They have advantage of reading at room temperature and there is no need of nitrogen gas. There are other several benefits when we compare this with the TLDs, but they are certainly more expensive than the TLDs. Now, when we talk about the dosimetry term, it is made up of two terms, dose plus metry, where dose is absorbed dose and metry means measurements. Measurements which is related to metrology, which is a science of measurements of physical quantities, means measuring the dose is dosimetry. So the term dosimetry, which we have been using so far, is the right term we are using, or is there something else which can be more appropriate to use? So the more appropriate term to use is dose assessment, not the dosimetry. Let's see how. In a day-to-day terms, external and internal dosimetry is used. This has a classical history since Manhattan Project in 1940s. The Manhattan Project was a research and development undertaking during World War II that produces first nuclear weapon. So since that time this term dosimetry is being used, and when we talk about the external dosimetry, there is a lot to do with the measurements, and the term external dosimetry becomes more accurate because there is some measurements involved. But when we compare with the internal dosimetry, this is entirely a theoretical calculations and no measurement is involved, and this is done mostly to refer and correlate with external dosimetry. So the term dose assessment is the correct one and formal name for dosimetry. Let's see the second part. What is absorbed dose or dose? This is the principal quantity to identify and measure the amount of radiation received by any material. The word dose has several meanings, which may be in the form of noun or maybe in the form of verb also, and some of them are shown here. The first one is a specified quantity of a therapeutic agent such as drug or medicine prescribed to be taken at one time or at stated intervals. Like a physician writes a prescription and writes one tablet twice a day or one tablet thrice a day, whatever it is there. So whatever he writes, that is considered as a dose of that medicine. So that is also dose. The amount of radiation administered as therapy to a given site. When we treat patients with the therapy and radiation is being administered, so there also the term dose is used, and it is also used as an ingredient added to impart some flavor or strength, especially in the case of wine. So the absorbed dose is energy deposited per unit mass of any material, that is E by M, and it is related to any kind of radiation being absorbed by any kind of matter, and the formula for this is D equal to dE by dm, where this D is absorbed dose and dE is energy and dm is mass. If we can write it in the form of E by m, then why do we want to write it in the form of d by dm? This is because the dose changes with the function of energy and mass, means the energy and the mass both are functions and they keep on changing with time. So if it is being changing with the time, so there is a rate of change will be there. To measure that rate of change, we include it in the form of derivatives. The derivative represents rate of change of function and the differential equation. Why this differential equation? This defines the relationship between the two. The unit of absorbed dose, energy per unit mass, which may be ergs per gram or joule per kg or some other, which we will see in the next slide. In 1953, International Commission on Radiation Units and Measurements, ICRU, decided the unit RAD, which is acronym of radiation absorbed dose. This was in the CGS system, but in 1974 the unit changed to Gray, and which was defined under the system of SI units. 1 rad is equal to 100 ergs per gram and 1 Gray is equal to 1 joule per kg. Since 1 joule is equal to 10 to the power 7 ergs, 1 Gray is equal to 100 rads, or 1 centigrade is equal to 1 rad. So the relationship between rad and Gray is 1 Gray is equal to 100 rads. 1 Gray is equal to 100 rads. The terminologies used for those units are sievert, rad, Gray, rem. These are the different units of dose, like absorbed dose, equivalent dose and effective dose, which we will discuss in our future presentations. These terms, this rad, Gray, rem and sievert, this is a collective term like class, family, jury, panel, staff, kind of that. So this cannot be called as rads, Grays, rems or sieverts, although it is heard in informal speeches or even observed in some publications. This was pointed out in 2008 book of Michael J. Stabin in Fundamentals of Nuclear Medicine Dosimetry. On page number 10 he writes, rad and Gray are collective quantities. One does not need to place an S after them to indicate more than one. I am known to judge him, I am known to criticize him, but just it was an observation In 2017 book by the same author, The Practice of Internal Dosimetry in Nuclear Medicine, which was published in 2017, on page number 90, he has written as RADS. There is another term called dose rate. When we talk about the dose with respect to time, then this quantity dose rate comes into the picture. It is the dose per unit time and denoted as D dot. And the formula for this is D by T. The absorbed dose rate affects the biological response of tissue to irradiation. Means as the rate is high, the biological response will change, and when the rate is low, again the biological response will change. The shorter half-life have high dose rates and the longer half-lives have low dose rates. The third section discusses about absorbed dose assessment. When we wanted to assess this absorbed dose, what are the things we need? Let us suppose 370 MBq of iodine 131 is ingested by the patient. So the first thing we need to know is the amount of activity administered. The next thing is mode and energy of decay, means the iodine 131, how that decays, when and with what energy that decay comes out. The third thing we need to know is the yield per nuclear transformation, means that if a beta is coming out, so how much beta is coming off. The fourth thing we need to know is the fraction of energy absorbed in that organ. The next thing we need to know is the radiopharmaceutical uptake, means how much uptake it has taken. Like if it is a thyroid and there is uptake of around say 5%, 10% or 20%, whatever it is there. So that percentage of uptake we need to know. The residence time, means how much time it stays there, and the clearance pattern of with respect to time. This overall is called as a biokinetics. The next thing we need to know is the mass of the organ. If you carefully see, this is the physics part and this is biology part. Means the dose assessment is a combination of physics and biology both. So if we need to know the absorbed dose, or if you want to assess the absorbed dose, we need to have knowledge of radiation characteristics of administered radionuclide. We need to have knowledge of anatomy for which the dosimetry is being calculated, and the biokinetics of the radiopharmaceutical. So these three things we need to know to assess absorbed dose. In the next section, we are going to discuss about physics part of this, the radiation and nuclear data. If you wanted to understand the characteristics of radionuclide, we need to know the nuclear decay scheme and how that radiation interacts with the organ tissues. So let's understand the first nuclear decay scheme. This has four parts. The decay type emission, means which type of decay is, how much yield is there, how much energy is there, and what is the half-life. These four things combines together to form nuclear decay scheme. And when we talk about radiation interaction, there is again four factors. The first one is attenuation coefficient, next energy transfer and absorption coefficients, unrestricted and restricted collision stopping power, and radiative stopping powers. These four things combinedly forms to make the characteristics of interaction of radiation with matter. So let's try to understand one by one. What's the nuclear decay? It's unstable nucleus which decays to various forms like alpha particles, beta particles, gamma, electron capture, characteristic X-rays, internal current conversion electrons, Auger or Koster chronic electrons, and this is the decay pattern of gallium. This looks scary. Let's see it in a larger view. This is the gallium-68. This decays with electron capture and positron. So let's try to understand with the simpler ones. This is the decay scheme of C14, which is a pure beta emitter. It decays to 7N14. There is an energy transition of 0.156 MeV. This Q is called transition energy, and it is the total mass energy conversion amount and denoted as Q. So this is the beta coming out. The yield is 100% and energy is 4.945 into 10 to the power minus 2 MeV. So here we have shown 0.156 MeV and here we are showing 4.945. So let's understand this. When neutron is converted into proton and electron plus neutrino, this electron is released from the nucleus in the form of beta particles, and this beta has variable energy from one decay to the other. So the average energy of beta, which is denoted as E beta bar, is derived, and it has a characteristic value for any given radionuclide. Typically, E beta bar is roughly equal to 1/3 of E beta max. This energy is E beta max, and the 1/3 of this is this E, means the average energy 4.945. Roughly for C14 it is 0.0497 MeV, which is 0.32 times of E beta max. This is the decay pattern of fluorine 18. Fluorine 18 decays with the mode of electron capture and the positron. So this has positron and 2 photons which comes out from the positron decay. The positron has a contribution of 96.7% and rest is electron capture. This is the same table which is converted in easier form to understand. With the one decay of positron emission, 2 gamma photons will come out. So if the percentage of positron in a particular radiation transformation is 0.967, so exactly the 2 times will be 1.93, which has energy of 511 keV. This positron has energy of 249.8 keV. So the EI into YI is equal to 242, and for this gamma is 986 keVs. What are the sources where we can get this data? A number of academics and national sites like National Nuclear Data Centers, which is maintained by Brookhaven National Laboratory. This is the link of this website given. There is another source is Radiation Dose Assessment Resource, that is Radar Group. They publish on their website. IAEA website also publishes this data. National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, publishes this data. Korea Atomic Energy Research Institute, they have this data on their website, and the Japan Atomic Energy Agency, they also publish this here. So let's see one website. This is the home page. They have specifically given a data for MIRD. Let's see when we click on this. This is the format from where suppose iodine 131 we wanted to search. They have provided a decay scheme, various radiations, yield, energy, and their multiplications. Everything is given here, which can be downloaded in the form of comma separated values or .csv files. Let's go back to the presentation. Some of the screenshot of other websites I have gathered here, like IAEA website, they give major radiations, their percentage and their energy on their website. So this is easy to use. The radar people on their page, they have given give me the Excel file. If we just click on this, an Excel sheet gets downloaded, which is seen like this, where the energy of around 850 radionuclides, see this 850 radionuclides data they have provided on the website. This nuclear and radiation data is also available in journals, articles and reports like Stabin et al. Of 2002 and 2003, ICRP publications 107, MID publication 2009, and the data of interaction of radiation with matter is published in the publications of International Commission on Radiation Units. So this all the data is available on the internet and which can be easily found out. There are articles publish this data. There may be others also. This data which is there on their website is not static. There are always regular refinements are done, but these changes are insignificant in nature when we think about the dosimetry. Let's come back to this slide once again and discuss about interaction of radiation with matter. Here we will be discussing about absorbed fraction. So it is the fraction of energy released in the object that is absorbed within that object. It is denoted as phi. When we talk about gamma photons, much of the energy comes out from the source organ and this irradiates other nearby organs. But in case of particulate radiation, most of the energy is absorbed within the organ. The source to target phi is greater than or equal to 0 and less than 1, and for source to source it is greater than 0 and less than or equal to 1. But for particulate radiation, phi is source to target, means for other organs like liver to kidney it is 0, but for liver to liver means source to source it is 1, means entire energy is absorbed within the organ. So the penetrating radiations are X-rays and gamma rays. Examples of non-penetrating radiation is alpha particles, beta particles, internal conversion electrons, Auger and costochronic electrons. Certainly many beta particles may penetrate material like paper and even penetrate the outer layer of skin and give radiation doses to sensitive cells in the body, but it is considered as entire energy is being absorbed, just to have a simplicity in the calculation. There is another term called specific absorbed fraction. When the absorbed fraction is normalized to the mass of the organ or the target region, then it is called as specific absorbed fraction. This we will come to know how this term is important when we discuss about the MID technique for the dose calculations. It is denoted as capital phi and it is equal to phi by m. The unit of a specific absorbed fraction is inverse of mass and it is referred as SAF in the documents. The next topic we are going to discuss is anatomical and physiological data. The patient individualized organ masses can be calculated using CT imaging, but this process is a complex one and demands for high processing power in order to evaluate with sufficient precision. So for the low dose absorption, a representative set of anatomical data is used and called reference data. But the problem with this data is whatever the good data is obtained, the dose estimates is calculated to the model and not to the person. In 1975, MIRD provided some reference masses and given a reference man term which had a weight of 70 kg and they give standard masses of different organs. In 1987, Christie and Ackermann models, they provided 6 phantoms which represented children and adults aged with a newborn, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 15-year-old and an adult. In 1995, Stabin et al. Added 4 more phantoms. All the 4 of them were for female, 1 for adult female, and the other 3 were stages of gestation such as 0, 3 months, 6 months and 9 months, and these were all calculated for the fetal dose estimation. In 2002, ICRP came up with the reference basic anatomy and physiological data. So this was a comprehensive data which has 6 different ages with the gender specific masses. This is the MIID pamphlet which they have provided the mass of different organs, since this is a copyright material which can be found out from the online. The salient features of ICRP 89, which includes, it is clearly written that it is applicable for workers and the members of general public, means these are not the patients. So this data is derived for the normal people. This has 6 ages, gender specific anatomical and physiological data on reference individuals, namely 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 15 year and newborn, and the adult male and female. The reference values were defined on Western European and North American population, and this was due to availability of well-studied anatomy, body composition and the physiology. The reference man has a weight of 73 kg. This is for the adult I am talking about. They had the weight of 73 kg and the woman had the weight of 60 kg. The age considered was 20 to 50 years for adults, and when it was necessary to give an exact age, the age considered was 35 years. The total body value for height and body mass are higher than various Asian populations, but was similar for China and Japan. This is the ICRP data, where they have given the organ tissue and their name with the age, the corresponding weights they have given. This is covered because of copyright issues. They have also given reference value for mass of epidermis, dermis, skin. Let's have a look on this. They have provided the mass of even eyeballs. Leave eyeballs, they have provided the mass of lens also. This is a very comprehensive data. It's taken 18 years to prepare this data. The task force was formed in 1984 and the final publication of this came in 2002. The physiological data is obtained from various dynamic biological models like urinary bladder model, GI tract, respiratory system, head, heart and contents, head and brain, bone and bone marrow, peritoneal cavity, rectum and prostate gland, and the spherical tumors. There are other models also, so wherever they are applicable they can be used. The errors in dose calibration due to mass variation. When we take the masses from fixed models, the variation in absorbed dose calculation can be sometimes a significant error can be there in the data. When we find out the patient individualized physiological data, there is a concept called ADME,
which is acronym for administration, distribution, metabolism and excretion, and this concept is used in pharmacokinetics.
When the medicine is being, how the medicine is being administered, Is it through IV route, intraarterial, or through direct infusion, intratumor, intracavitary, or per OS, means through any organ opening. Preferably it is through mouth or by inhalation. Second part, the distribution. The measurement of biodistributions are made at many discrete times post administration, means with the significant time intervals, like when the radioactivity was injected, after 2 hours how much is the distribution, after 6 hours, after 2 days, whatever is the distribution at certain time intervals, when it is measured, then it is called as distribution. Third is metabolism. How the body manages the pharmaceuticals is studied here, but this cannot be applied for radiopharmaceuticals because we do not know how much is the metabolism. But the last part is excretion, and this is an essential part of evaluating associated radiation dosimetry. So there are 3 parts of pharmacokinetics: administration, distribution, and excretion. These 3 are applicable and can be used to study personalized physiological data. So for the dose estimation, we need to know the knowledge of radiation characteristics of administered radionuclide. The second part, we understood about the anatomy for which the dosimetry is being calculated, and finally the biokinetics of radiopharmaceuticals. But to know the absorbed dose, we need to assign numerical values to all these factors, and we need to have a formula for this so that we can calculate. So this is the formula, which is a generic equation of absorbed dose rate, and which is equal to Ka sigma I yi ei phi I divided by m, where d dot is absorbed dose rate, A is activity, yi is yield per radiation, E is energy per radiation, phi I is absorbed fraction, m is mass, and k is proportionality constant. This normalizes the value of different units. These all are the books which has been referred to make this presentation. The ICRP 2002, publication 89, ICRP 2007, publication 107, book 2008, Fundamentals of Nuclear Medicine Dosimetry, 2010 book, Nuclear Medicine Radiation Dosimetry, 2012, Physics in Nuclear Medicine, and 2017, The Practice of Internal Dosimetry in Nuclear Medicine. The next topic we are going to discuss about the mathematics of absorbed dose calculation. Here we will see how the formula of absorbed dose evolves. For more details, please visit www.nuclearmedicinesolutions.in. Please feel free to write us at support@nuclearmedicinesolutions.in. Thank you for patient hearing. All the presentations of this series will be uploaded on Nuclear Medicine Physicist page. Thank you very much.